Recording. Good morning, everybody. This is Rama on Writing's webinar on the business of writing and publishing, coming to you live from very dark Kailua Kona, Hawaii, where winter really isn't winter. Although sometimes we do get snow on the top of Mauna Kea. Um, you know, I've fantasized at times about getting a set of skis, skiing down the part of the mountain you can snow, hopping on a bicycle, pedaling to the beach, and then jumping on a surfboard and having my own, triathlon there. It's not something that I've done yet, and the thought of actually going up into the cold weather really is just a fantasy, to tell you the truth. But anyway, today's topic is going to be about, planning, getting that calendar out. And I have to thank Christina Vondel for this topic because we were talking this week, and Christina has published her book, and she's just like the rest of us. She's in the process of growing her footprint online. And after we hear someone like Catherine Carrigan explain all that stuff that she does, our head starts to spin a little bit, and we say, holy cow, how am I ever going to get there? And, I had an interesting conversation with Sally Rose, who's on the line as well, about, getting started and some of the frustrations about, blogging to two people or, having just a couple of people to follow or that follow you on Twitter or whatever. And, it can get daunting in this process, and it can kind of feel like we're getting nowhere fast. And there are some authors that, as a alternative to this, they say, "Oh, I need to hire an agent who will do this stuff for me." Well, in this day and age, you can hire an agent and you can give them money, but they're really not going to do anything for you, and you're just going to waste another $15,000 and think that it's moving ahead. That's one of the unfortunate things about the book promotion industry. Well, to take a step back and to explain why I feel and I focus on planning our work as a hugely important component of this game. For those of you who don't know, when I first graduated college, I was an economics major, which is kind of a basic liberal arts degree. Uh, I think my father wanted me to go on and become an MBA because he was a businessman. Well, I did become a businessman. I worked in his company for 3 or 4 years as a young 20-year-old. He had a consultant company, and basically we did productivity, work management type stuff. We programmed work. And one of our adages is that work will expand to fill the allotted time. Okay, so what that basically means, if we have one task, it's very easy for us to have that task take a whole day or a week to do, even if it is only a 10-minute task or an hour, let's say. We don't have to be quite as extreme. So one of the keys is that you kind of program your day out. And you say, okay, well, these are the tasks that I'm going to accomplish today. And, the plan is great because, after you do the first task, you get up and go outside and go do some exercise and go shopping, and you might or might not get back to your work, and that's all fine and good. And so then you have the tasks available for the next day. Okay, so the point being is that we need to have a lot of tasks so we can, get things accomplished. So as I was mentioning, Christina and I were talking early this week or last week. I can't even remember anymore. The weeks, especially in Hawaii, run into one another. And I suggested that she get herself one of those big desktop blotter type calendars. At Staples, a lot of times they sell them for $5. And I know that I've used them on a regular basis, and it's right there in front of you unless you put everything on top of it to hide it, which is something that we can do. And in looking at a calendar like that, we can see the whole month ahead of us. And we can look at, okay, on Thursday every week I'm going to write a blog post. On Monday, because, I'm bleary-eyed, I'm going to do some research online in my topic. I'm going to look for some forums and blogs that are on topic for my book authoring topic, and I'm going to start making some comments. On Tuesday, every week, I'm going to program up my dashboard, whether it's a social ally dashboard as Tom Pitts uses, or whether it's a Hootsuite. And for those of you who don't have a dashboard, Hootsuite is a free dashboard, okay? It is not as impressive as the one that Catherine was showing about Social Ally, but it is a good first step, and it is what Denise Casino uses to help us do our book launch. By the way, we did have 2 book launches this week. I know that Nancy Perry, Dr. Nancy Perry, in her mother bashing book, did hit her #1 on it. Still not sure if Linda LaFlamme hit or not. And we do have a few others coming up, but these kind of dashboards are, again, some component that we can utilize and schedule our work, okay? And so as we fill out our calendar for a week, month, and really the year, when Christina and I were talking, she said, I can't wait until I can do a webinar like Catherine Carrigan did. She said, I'm going to do that a year from now. And so I told her, well, on the calendar, put that on December, that by December, she's going to be versatile enough with promoting her book that she can provide guidance for the rest of us. Okay? But if she is not going to put that on the calendar and utilize that as a goal, time is going to get away, and she's not going to be in that place to accomplish that. So our planning takes on both long-term vision and short-term steps as to how to get there. Okay, so that's the reason why I talk about planning often, okay? It is in the roots of my business development. And of course, I got tired of being a businessman rather quickly. I felt that I actually owed a good effort to my dad because he paid my college tuition for me. But I did kind of sense that it wasn't for me. And I'm the kind of person that does like to experience, to know. So I moved on, and at that point, I kind of dropped out of society. I moved to Hawaii and became a hippie, and that's really what I'm writing about now. So, if you think about all the experiences you've had in life, they are all books or parts of books, and there's no sense in not writing them. Okay, so that becomes another one of those goals in our calendar. Tom Carroll and I talked about that this morning before everybody came on board. Is he's going to get on board and he's going to write book 2, which, by the way, is what is considered the best thing to do to promote book 1. Write book 2. Okay. Of course, some of us are fed up with the thought of writing another book, and we're thinking, well, I have to promote this book. But that is a key step in promotion, because you're going to go do that activity anyway. You might as well have two things to sell them and expand your audience. And many of our authors look at, building that platform. And I think that that's, many of you out there are really looking at that. And I've had discussions with a number of you about what that platform can be. Not that I am an expert at anything other than fixing bikes and being a beach bum, but by the time you've published your book, I know an awful lot about you, and it's easier for someone on the outside to say, well, this is the classic platform that would be beneficial for you and what you're actually doing anyway. Okay, so what our calendar is really portraying is building your author platform, which is basically an author identity out there to the world. And there are huge numbers of steps. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of those steps in the next webinar. That's why I was thinking, well, maybe it doesn't make sense to cut the webinar off and just to run one room and change the topic at the top of the hour and take a little break, get another cup of coffee, and and then just continue on with the group. So that was my epiphany for the day. We're all allowed one epiphany every day, so that was mine. Okay, so getting back to our planning component, what happens, and as I have spoken with many of you on a regular basis, I see this all the time, is that when we listen to someone like Catherine Carrigan or Denise Casino, or some webinar that an expert provides for us, our heads spin and we say, well, gosh, I want to be there, but I'm never going to get there. It just becomes so daunting. There's so many tasks to do, and the only way to kind of break through is to cut that up into those small steps and to put it down on a calendar. One of the things that I do every day is, I work off of one of those little yellow pads, or my favorite kind of pad is a steno pad because it's split down the middle, and I can kind of put two different types of tasks on, both sides. But I write a list of things I have to do, okay? And basically I have your names on my steno pad, okay? I have to do a task for Sally Rose. I have to do a task for Deborah Lightheart. I have to do something for Leland, Mary Stevenson, Helene. I'm not sure if Helene's on the webinar today. And if I don't get it done today, then I'm going to put it on tomorrow's list. And sometimes I don't create a new list every day. I work off of that same list until it's kind of crossed out and there's too much stuff on there, and then I create the next one. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a daily component, but these little things get away from us if we rely on our memory. And so I've always found that to-do list, a classic to-do list, is great. And I've tried to download all these great apps for my iPad and my computer, and I always go back to the pad and pen. Most of us here are of a little older generation, and pens still work for us. Some of us even write our books by pen, myself included. Not to say that I wish I could do it by typing, but I just don't have the confidence at this point to do that. And I was talking to one of our other authors this week about that. And, if you do have the choice, to work on a digital device to work your plan, well, that may be just as good as pen and paper. Google Calendar is a very easy thing for all of us to use. I mean, if you have a Gmail account, you can create a calendar. It's there. All you do is click on the icon that says calendar. And I tend to use that to schedule my calls and to schedule Tom's calls. And, it's how we as a company communicate with each other. I can see that Tom's in Santa Fe on Friday. And I know that if I try to call him, he's traveling or something like that. And the calendar isn't blocked off saying Rama's in Hawaii, leave him alone. But we do schedule our times, and certain tasks really need a lot of focus. So it's a great idea to block off those time slots and say, okay, I'm going to focus in on this hard task today or in this slot. For many of you, I've, in the past, I said, hey, I'm willing to do phone calls on Mondays and Tuesdays, but I'm not going to do calls on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay. The reason for that is that I've got to move your documents. I have other things to do. And what I found is that if I focus on those things, then time gets away from me and I miss the phone calls. So I've tended to want to do my phone consultations with the authors on Mondays and Tuesdays. And I will be getting back into that for all of you. We can schedule regular times to speak, whether it's every week, every other week, or once a month. I like to know where you are and what you're doing, and I want to keep you on track. Just as Gwen is our revision coach, her main forte is to hold you accountable to complete your book. She doesn't need to know how to revise a book per se, although she knows a lot. Her main focus is just to communicate with you and give you the support to continue on. Well, that's my purpose as well, is to provide you with that when you get frustrated to the point where you feel like never writing or posting to social media, we speak and I give you a whole set of new energy to move forward. And I may give you some ideas of ways that you haven't looked at, promoting your book. That's why one of the key components of my idea of planning is to always set aside some time to do new research. And when I say research, I'm really referring to new ways that you can engage in meeting people, in getting your footprint out there. I regularly use Google to find out what's the best way to promote your book, or where are the forums for Hawaii or mountain biking or authoring, so that I can engage and I can see what the newest, latest, greatest thing is, and I can apply that to my plan on moving forward. So I really consider that a key component, because nobody's going to tell you where to go and what to do after a point. Okay, we're all on our own course to some degree. Many of us cross courses, mind you. Many of us are writing in a genre that is similar to one another, so we can kind of utilize each other's experiences to gain a bigger foothold out there. But also many of us have our own niche that we're establishing, and that requires that we research what's out there, and we can see, hey, classic example. I was talking to an author who's not on this morning, as far as I can tell. I better check just to make sure. He's not. He's just about to get his book into the style editor. He's working on his introduction. And I was speaking to, out of the blue, I decided to give him a call yesterday. And periodically, one of your names comes up into my head, and I put you on my schedule to call to find out, what's going on. Why haven't you submitted your manuscript? Why, did you miss that proof that I sent you because you're emailing me about other stuff? And in his case, he was writing an intro, and he was starting to tell me that, his book is a lot like these other books. And I said, oh, that's great. Put those other books in your introduction. Okay. Now, what I was getting at is that by utilizing something that's established, that's in your genre, you can kind of ride the coattails. Okay, and utilizing those terminologies, I think it was the Course in Miracles that he was talking about. By utilizing the term Course in Miracles in posts, blogs, even the intro or a book blurb on the back of your cover, you can utilize the momentum, because people know about the Course in Miracles and they may not know about you. Okay, and by doing a search on Course in Miracles, you might get lucky and come up in a search that somebody does, and say, "Oh boy, this book by Tom Carroll called The Oracle is just what I need to help me move to the next step." So riding the coattails of existing celebrities, so to speak, in the field can really help us. And it's not like you're competing with them, and you don't have to feel bad because they're like 100 miles down the road compared to where you are. You can utilize them. You can utilize their terminology to help your searches. So if this gentleman were to do some Twitter posts that utilize the term Course in Miracles, if somebody was utilizing Twitter to find out about Course in Miracles, his name might come up. So those are the kind of things that we want to start looking at through our plan, which goes back to another one of my pet topics is keywords. Okay, so we really want to stay focused on our keywords, or on keywords that we want to use in the future, and that can become part of our planning component. For those of you who are working with Greg, I think he can generate a keyword list for you, what you and he have set up on the website. And if he can't do that, there are softwares online, some free, some very inexpensive to get a hold of. And what these lists do is they can show you whether it's that key phrase that you're using, or what's called a long tail keyword, which is 3 words in a sequence, whether there's a chance that you could come up and utilize those. Some of them are so big in general that it would be impossible for you to necessarily leverage them in the Google search. On the other hand, in social media search, you might be able to do so. One of the things I guess, and I'm not a Twitter expert, I'm like you, what the heck is Twitter and why would I want to use it anyway? But I did learn from who was, I think it was probably Catherine. She said, oh yeah, if you hashtag a term, that means if someone is searching that term, they get all the hashtag posts relating to that. Okay, so that is the way of leveraging, and that's the point of what Twitter is good for. So, it takes a little bit of comprehension of how these different systems work to, figure out how to leverage them. And if you don't know how they work, Google will tell you. All you need to do is say, how does Twitter work? And they'll be listing after listing, and you can learn a lot from each one. And, some you'll click on and they won't be very helpful, and some will be. One of the things that I do, I'm a PC person, and the reason I'm a PC person is that PCs have a right click. So if you do a search, what is Twitter, or how do I use Twitter, and you get all these things, you can just right click and open in a new tab and not lose your search window. So you can open up 5 or 6 of them, peruse them, realize that only one of these is worth anything for you, and click off the others, and then go back to your search window without having to retype in anything. And that does happen with Macs as well, although I think you either need a newer Mac, or you need to learn how to set up your trackpad, or you can get a Magic Mouse, which is what I did to make my Mac work. And then you can right click and open in a tab. So I learned this week that that's the whole point about hashtagging in Twitter, is that it provides you with a way that people can come in contact with your post by the hashtag term that you've used. Okay, so what I want everyone to do this week is to get some kind of planning system in place. And as I say, a very easy one is the blotter calendar that usually costs $5 at Staples, or a weekly, monthly planner that you can get at Walmart or Staples. I have a very thin one that I use over here. I'll show you. It's got a very attractive blue cover, and it is empty. See, very empty, but it does have a monthly view, and I find that the ones that have a big monthly view are probably the best for us to use, so that we have that big perspective. I personally don't like the ones that have the time broken out throughout the day, because I never can stick to that time, and their lines are really thin. and I really want you all to look at month by month. That's the view that we all are best suited for, because we have a lot of things we have to do. We have to get our blogs going once a week, once every other week, on a Thursday or a Tuesday, or whatever day we choose. As you saw with the Social Ally dashboard, Catherine was able to identify what was the best time for her to get engagement from her posts. So if she focuses on that time slot, she'll know that more people will see her post. But in order to get there, she's had to post at different times to see what happens. So we want to have a listing for our blogs, whether it's once a week, twice a week, 5 times a week, every other week. I want to encourage you all to at least do your blog posting every other week, and preferably every week. And I know that it can be very frustrating if you're sensing that nobody's looking at your blog, and you're saying, well, why bother doing this? Well, the reason you bother is that you are started. Nothing happens quickly in this world, okay? It takes time. It takes time to build an audience. So blog for yourself. Enjoy it. Write something that makes you laugh. Write something that you're proud of. And for those of you who don't know, blogs are from 350 words to 750 words, okay? And since we've all been through the Tom Bird system of writing, that means a blog takes us 15 minutes or 20 minutes to write. We all have the ability to commit 15 minutes a week to our blog. And I'm saying this for me, not for you, because I haven't done it either. Okay, also on that calendar, put down newsletter once a month, okay? And what your newsletter can be is just a conglomeration of the 4 blog postings that you had, and maybe a few other highlights of what's going on with your life, or your book, or your holiday in Hawaii, or the snow in Santa Fe, or whatever, you kind of want to do. And again, this may feel like you're writing this newsletter for 2 people, which is how you have to start. Okay, I tell you, if you write your newsletter for 2 people, you're going to think, well, gosh, I know a dozen people that I can put on this list that, they're friends of mine. They probably want to see what's going on. And, you can slowly build your email marketing list. Okay, now we have another task to put on the calendar: building the email marketing list. And this is real important as well. These lists don't grow on their own. Just because we have a button on our website that says click here to join my mailing list, that doesn't mean that people are going to do that on their own unless we are providing content for them. Okay, and sometimes it takes reaching out, and it takes certain activities. One of the things that we as authors can leverage is the blog postings. Well, look, if we start to blog post, then that email list will start to grow. People get notified that, hey, I've got a new blog posting this week. Joining associations. This one strikes home for me. Okay, I had my mountain bike shop in Sedona for 22 years. I closed it down, and mountain biking, even though it is part of my life, it isn't the main focus. And I was pretty darn content to let it be that, and to kind of not be that interested. And now the authors are my main focus, and they're not mountain bikers. And I joke with Tom saying, man, the authors are really harder to work with than mountain bikers, and harder to get to do anything, because mountain biking, riding a bike is a lot more fun than writing a book, perhaps, or doing a blog posting. But what I found myself doing was engaging in an organization, a mountain biking organization in Sedona. I became president of one of the mountain bike clubs. Okay, now if I hadn't written my book, I probably would not, I definitely would not have taken that step. So there are associations, and I'm not telling you to become president of an association, but a member of an association. Go to meetings. Many of you are writing, spiritual works. Well, the Course in Miracles is a great group of people all over the country and all over the world. Well, those are your people, gang. Your books are perfect for them. So there are hundreds of these organizations and associations out there. So each one of us, that's the research component of expanding your footprint. Look for these organizations. Some of them, you can gain access to a huge mailing list. Sometimes it might cost money to do so. It would probably be money well spent. Others are very protective of the list, so you kind of just have to make friends and pull them into becoming someone on your mailing list or on your following on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn group or Pinterest board, or, I haven't even checked out Instagram yet. But, this is how you grow your footprint. And the only way you're going to do this is by putting this information in the calendar and reminding yourself that on Tuesday, the third Tuesday of the month, there's a meeting for Course in Miracles, and you're going to physically attend that, and you're going to hand out your bookmark to 4 people there, or something along those lines. Whether it could be an online meeting, we have a chat box here. I mean, there are tons of webinars being done by people like you. And there's a chat box going on, so you can be a listener to a webinar, and you can chat with somebody that you don't know and build a relationship with them. One of the components that I really want to stress and push for you is that, hey, I'm willing to let you talk, and do a presentation on these webinars and become familiar with how that's done and familiar with talking to people and comfortable with it, so that you have the ability to move further down that road. Because we do live in a digital age, gang, and it's a lot easier for us to, contact people far and wide by doing it via webinar. Not to say that some of you don't. I mean, we do have opportunities in our communities to engage in groups. The Chamber of Commerce in a lot of our communities is a spot to plug in. There's all sorts of organizations, and although we're authors and we would really rather be hermits and sit writing books and ignore the world, forget it. It can't be done if you want to promote your book. And, this is a decision that we all have to make. And it's just as hard for me as it is for you to say, okay, I better step up to the plate and do something, and not just talk about it to myself and to my close friends. It's time that I actually grew my footprint out there. Okay, so we've got 12 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm going to allow you all to unmute yourself, talk about your experience, ask questions, and if nobody has such a question, I'll go make another cup of coffee. Fine. Catherine, you've unmuted yourself. What's your question or comment?
Well, I want to make a comment. There's a book I recently read, because you keep, plannings and calendars. It's called The One Thing. And it's a very powerful book about what's your one thing you're going to do that's going to make a difference today or this hour to move you forward in whatever your business is. Again, it's called The One. And I don't know I have the author off the top of my head, but I know it has good reviews on Amazon. And I know that when I wake up, okay, what's the one thing I can do that's going to make a difference for my book? Whether that be Twitter, getting on my website, or 20 minutes of writing. What's one thing I'm going to do that's going to move me forward? And I always have that in the back of my head, and it's been pretty powerful. So I wanted to share that.
Catherine, thank you very much for that. I think that many times we get so overwhelmed that we, we can't see the benefit of doing something for just 20 minutes. And, those 20 minutes do add up, gang. And so taking Catherine's advice and picking one thing to do every day for as little as 20 minutes will make a difference. I know that, I could benefit greatly just from doing that. If I wrote for 20 minutes every day, I'd have 100 books written by now.
So yeah, it's a great, yes, thank you. Thank you, Don.
Anyone else got a comment for us today?
I do.
Okay, Tom, you're on.
I hate calendars.
So grow up and get one.
No, look, I'm going to make a wall calendar.
Great idea.
I have the main focus in the middle. My three, I got to work on the book, work on the marketing, work on the blog. And that part will be permanent. And then I put Post-it notes around the outside. I'm going to try this. And as I finish that task, I'll pull off the Post-it note. Something like that. I'll let you know how it works. But anything but that doesn't look like a calendar might work.
Again, a great idea. We all have things that rub us the wrong way. And however we want to organize our thoughts, some people are more three-dimensional than others. I just find that I'm a list person more than a calendar person, to tell you the truth. I write my list of things I have to do with the authors, and I cross them off. And sometimes there's a name or a project that goes from day to day to week before I knock it out. And eventually I get tired of looking at it and I will knock it off. So, however you feel inclined to lay out your projects. Great comment, Tom, because calendars don't work for everybody. And certainly like Tom Bird uses his daily planner, and he made me buy a daily planner. Well, I barely use the darn thing. But I continue to buy one because Tom's the boss, and he is very successful at using it. And so whatever we utilize is what works best for us, and it may take a little bit of trial and error to find out what system works. As I say, I've downloaded tons of apps for my iPad that are to-do lists and calendars and stuff like that, and I have yet to find one that really works. Other than using the Google Calendar for my phone calls, I really don't use a digital calendar for my tasks. Good point, Tom. Thank you. Anyone else this morning? Well, I'm going to make another cup of coffee, and I'm going to be back at the top of the hour with our next webinar. And just to give you a little insight, the first thing I'm going to talk about is Amazon Author Central. So we'll move ahead with that, and I will be back next week. And I think I have 2 more webinars here from Hawaii, and then I will be back in Sedona doing webinars. It will be light when I start instead of dark. That will be the one benefit from heading back to the mainland. And wherever we are, that's where we are. So we got to make the most of it and have fun. Tom Carroll, you've unmuted yourself. Do you have something to say?
People have left a bunch of addresses here. These are Twitter addresses, right? There we go. Okay. I didn't put the @ sign in front of mine, but apparently you all know.
Hey, that's great. One of my goals, and I better put this on the list because this one keeps escaping me, is to get all of our social media out to each other, so that we all can follow people, and that way, Sally Rose, you can have more than 2 people follow you on Twitter.
Again,
Everyone,
since I'm unmuted, everyone use Rama's Rider Alliance for these messages. Then we have them saved.
oh, great idea. Let's all go there and put our social media information up, and that way we can all become each other's friends and we can communicate. The goal of Tom Carroll for this Rama's Author Alliance Facebook page was to provide a place where we can communicate with each other and share ideas and build our community. And I have been very negligent myself in utilizing the page, but I'm going to put that down on my to-do list.
Okay, and Tom P, we'll get together and figure out this dual name thing.
Okay, everybody, have yourself a good weekend. I'll be back in 5 minutes on the other channel. Take care now. Thank you.
Thanks, Rama.